In this video, I'm going to teach you how to measure and draw a room to scale. And so this video will tie into the practice assignments that you'll be completing each week. And these assignments are intended to really help you learn how to sit in a space and measure and draw it accurately. Keep in mind, of course, that you can draw any space that you like. It can be a personal space or one outside of your home. Keep in mind that these spaces can be photographed by you, and these photographs are really intended to just be used as a reference for your instructor in case he or she has any questions about what they see on your floor plan. These photographs will not be viewed by anyone but your instructor without your explicit permission. And so, of course, no judgment on how the space looks at all. The other thing to remember when you're completing these is that they're low point value on purpose because these are really intended to be a learning experience in which you learn how to draw all different kinds of spaces and furniture pieces and architectural features without any penalty. So bear in mind that even though they're not a high point value, they're still really, really important. What I'm going to do first is begin by explaining to you the final deliverable, and then we're going to work backwards to show how to create it. You can see here on the left side of your screen, there's a floor plan of a bedroom, and you can see it's drawn on 1/4-inch graph paper. So there's 4 squares for each inch on this graph paper, and you can see that the scan itself is straight on. It's not distorted. It's not skewed. There's no shadows or stray marks or anything. You can see that the line work is in black and white and it's very crisp. You can also see that there's a label in the lower left-hand corner that says what the space is, an indication of scale. In this case, it's 1/4-inch scale, which means that for each box on the graph paper represents a foot in real life. It also indicates the ceiling height. You can also see to the left of to the right of the label, a north arrow, and that's really just to allow a viewer to make reference to different walls, such as, the north wall up here, the east wall, which is on the right, the west wall, which is on the left, for example. The other thing that you'll see on this floor plan that's really important for our purposes is the camera designations. And you can see here there's 4 of them, one in roughly each corner of the space. Now the camera designation contains 2 parts. The first is a capital letter, and it's inscribed within a circle, and then you can see there's an acute angle right next to it. And so the letter indicates the photograph that corresponds or correlates to the floor plan in this location. And then this angle right here indicates where a viewer is standing, and the direction of the opening of this angle indicates the direction that the viewer is looking and what they see. So were you to extend these lines outward straight, that's the field of view of the person standing right here. And if you correlate the letter to the photo, you can see that A correlates to this photograph A. And you can see that if you're standing at A right here and looking in the direction of that acute angle, you can see that you would see the side of the dresser, the bed, of course, the north wall, and the nightstand. And you can see here, that's exactly what you see in A. Same thing with B over here, standing in the corner. You won't see the dresser because it's sort of outside of your view range. You'd see the bed, the nightstand, and of course the door, and maybe a little bit of this closet here. And lo and behold, you can see B. That's what you see in B. And so the first step is really to start to create these camera views so that a person looking at your floor plan can understand the space pretty intuitively just by looking at a combination of photos and a floor plan. In this slide, I'd like to draw your attention to another thing that we have to do before we start drawing, which is to make sure that the actual space itself is going to fit on our sheet of paper in the scale that we want to draw it in. And so you can see here, once again, I've got the completed floor plan, which will again be our last step, but I'm using this to indicate how you can measure to determine the size of the space. And what you can see here is I have actually had this man here measure the widest point of this interior space so that I can make sure that when I draw it at 1/4 inch scale, it's going to fit on my sheet. And so what you can see here is in the photograph, the man is holding a tape measure, and you can even see the yellow tape on the floor. You can see here, he is actually standing right at this location on the floor plan, right in front of the window on the north wall. And he's extending the tape measure all the way to the door, which is out of view from the picture itself. But you can see here, the tape measure is actually running along this red arrow. And you can see here, the end that's in his hand, which actually shows the total length of the room. You can see here on this photograph, you can see the photograph, you can see the measurement of what he would see. Now your tape measure might look slightly different, but in mine, the bottom row of numbers indicates the total amount of inches. And you can see here that the total amount of length here is 222 inches. That's what he sees on the end of his tape measure. But also, because it's oftentimes easier to measure and draw things based on feet and inches, you can see here just above 216, you can see there's an 18, and that's located in a black arrow. That's the whole number of feet within this space. And then after the whole feet, there's a fraction of a foot in inches. So you can see here, it's 18 feet, 6 inches. Now, if you took 18 and multiplied it by 12, so converting feet to inches, you would actually end up with 216. Then if you added 6 more inches to it, you would end up with 222 inches. So back to the fact that the end of his tape measure says it's the length of the room is 18 feet 6 inches, or 18 and a half feet. You can see on the floor plan that line is measured in these squares here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 and a half. And so I was able to determine before I even drew anything that the widest length of this room is 18 and a half feet. And so it will fit on my graph paper. Now, the next thing that we need to do is actually begin to construct what we call our shell or our base plan. And so what you're seeing here is actually the first set of lines here is the actual face of the wall that a person inside this room could touch with their hands. And then it's actually been offset 6 inches to indicate the thickness of the wall itself. And you can use 6 inches as a general guide to how thick to draw walls themselves, although of course every wall thickness is a little bit different. But you can see here, I'm actually showing how I came up with the length of this line right here. And you can see here, the man is standing right here. The start of the tape measure is here, and the end of the tape measure is here. And when he measures this wall, you can see the tape measure that's in his right hand. The number right above that, right where his hand is, this is what the tape measure says. It says 138 inches. And that's because it's 11 feet, 6 inches long. That's how long the wall is. And you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and a half feet, or 11 feet, 6 inches. So at the end of this wall is actually the start of this wall. And you can see here, I don't have a picture of him measuring it, but you can see here, this corner right here is this line right here. And it actually probably extends a little bit farther out because I'm not showing the left corner in this image. But you can see if you extended your tape measure all the way over here, from this wall all the way to this wall, this is what it would say, 168 inches. Okay, or right at 14 feet. It's right 14 inches. 14 feet. And look how many boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Perfect. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is, we'll take a look at this wall. And same thing here, it's a little bit cut off on this side, but you could see if I'm standing here and holding my tape measure to that edge of the wall, starting here and ending here, the length of that wall is 7 feet 6 inches, or 7.5 feet, or 90 inches here. So of course you could see here, it's actually 7 and a little bit on this side and a little bit of an extra square on this side. But you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7.5 feet, 7.5 boxes. So now all you have to do really is touching the face of the walls, go ahead and measure each of the wall faces, look at your tape measure, either find the total number of inches first and then convert it, or find the number in the big black arrow or whatever yours looks like that's the equivalent, and go ahead and figure out how many feet and how many inches, and that's the amount of boxes that you have. Keep in mind that most interior spaces have, of course, 90-degree angles, but if you have angles, different kinds of angles, then all you have to do is just kind of do your best guess based on the measurement, and then see if you can match it up against another wall. Okay?
In this video, I'm going to show you how to take the measurements that you've created for your building shell and transfer them onto a piece of 1/4-inch graph paper. Just before we get started, it's going to result in a drawing that looks like this. However, just so that you all know, the drawing that was created before all that was this. And so it's a little bit, obviously there's some complexity with the measurements of the floor plan, but that's how it started with all the dimensions from the measuring tape. So just know that you may be seeing something that looks very pristine, but rest assured that there was some messiness that preceded it. Okay, so what you can see here is I've got a scale ruler. I switched to these many years ago, but a regular ruler here will work just perfectly. And you can see that I've got 1/4-inch graph paper mounted to my drawing surface. You can see here, I can tell it's 1/4-inch because you can see the 1-inch marks here on my scale ruler. There's 4 squares for each inch. And so, so that's how we know that we're at least starting off on the correct foot. Now, just, I apologize for the shadow here. I'm working in some natural light, and unfortunately it's creating an unavoidable shadow. But in any case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, I've already kind of pre-planned how I'm going to draw this and locate it on my sheet so I make sure that there's plenty of room. And my starting point is going to be right here. That's where I'm going to draw the inside corner of our space. And so you can see here, I'll try to kind of flash this once in a while so that you can see. But we're going to begin by just kind of drawing the single line here that creates the north wall. And so we know the overall dimension line, of course, was 1.5 plus 6.5. So that's 8 plus another 3.5. So that's going to be 11.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And a half right there. Okay, and so all I'm going to do here, I would typically draw it like this, but I'm trying to keep my face out of the camera, so I'll go ahead and draw it like this. Okay, and then the length of this wall over here is 14.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14.5 is right there. So again, 14.5 feet, so 14.5 boxes. Okay, and then it's going to turn the corner here. We've got 2.5 boxes for this wall. And this is not technical drafting, so I'm not using tools to make sure that my lines are perfectly vertical, but I'm trying really hard. And if it doesn't turn out perfectly the first time, I'm a person that'll go ahead and redo it, just to make sure it looks really good. So we've got 4 boxes here, but again, that we've started on a half, so we're gonna go 4.5 right there. Okay, it's a little bit long. And then I'm going to come over, let's see, my dimension is 6 boxes, over this way. So I normally start with a whole box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 6, and then I have to back it up just a little bit because I've got that extra half that started over here. Okay. Oops, I counted wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And then I'm going to come back up here, and we've got 4.5 boxes up this way, so you've already got our half right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That line's a little crooked. I'm going to straighten it out like that. Okay. And then of course this is going to drop down here, and this is going to connect over here. So I don't really have to count, although I know it's 7.5 feet. Okay, so that's our finished box where we got all of our dimensions transferred. And so now all I'm going to do is just add that 6-inch offset, and you can see I'm rounding out the extra box here that's at the bottom. Okay, so now this is ready for architectural features to be added in, but I'm going to draw those first in with pencil so I make sure I don't mess up, and then I'll go ahead and add them back in with pen. But now is a really good time for me to label, because I find often that if I don't label now, I'll forget it. And so I'm going to, even though it's in pencil now, and I'm going to go over it again in pen, I'm going to just put my pencil marks here. You can see here that I'm writing in all capital letters in horizontal lines, and I'm indicating, of course, the scale, which we know is 1/4 inch. Okay, 8-foot ceiling height. And of course the north arrow. So important. Okay, and so the rest of these things, there's some, messy corners and things like that. That'll all get fixed at the end. But for right now, we've got a drawing that's ready for architectural features.